Ni hao, konnichiwa, onion seo, is it? Daddy, Ollie, teach me.
Hello, annyeonghaseyo.
And with that, I'm leaving. Hi friends, my name's Frederic, and today on things that make me 1% less prideful, which has now been renamed Making Up My Mind About Blank. Thank you to the person who suggested that. I'm gonna give you credit right here where it's due. I know I did a community post, don't worry, Steve Universe is coming soon. It's just I need to rewatch it again. But I also asked on Twitter, what do you think I should do next for a commentary video? And somehow, for some reason, y'all said Oli London. Miss Olay Lotion. How did I get #1? I don't know. Twitter's another world, so I guess we're gonna talk about them. And I also want to clarify, I know most of you all already have your own opinions about them, but they do go by they, them pronouns. I'll get into the other pronouns eventually. Don't worry. On this channel, no matter what, we're going to respect someone's pronouns, even if you don't believe them or you just think they're a terrible person. If you're new to the series, I do my makeup and I show you all the process, not talk about the products because they're in the description for you, while talking about an important topic on the internet or just in pop culture. And y'all said Oli London of all things. I know I mentioned it, but y'all didn't have to agree. Let's start off with who is Oli London? Who is Miss Olay Lotion? They are a influencer? Content creator who started to gain popular a few years ago, and they're most infamously known for wanting to be Jimin of BTS. What's BTS? It's one of the biggest K-pop groups in the world. And when you look up Jimin, Oli London is under it. So why is this person popular? Why would someone want to impersonate someone else who isn't even the same race? Orange Lemon has done multiple plastic surgeries, possibly over $100,000 worth, to resemble Jimin. I don't need my glasses to see that the resemblance is it's coming. Also, before I start, I just want to show you off that I do have some acne going on. I recently popped those 2 bitches. We're gonna try my best to cover it up, but just know face isn't perfect and it doesn't have to be. So why is Oli England even a trending topic? Well, back in June, Pride Month, they thought it would be nice to come out as non-binary, but also Korean. I don't think any of us care about the non-binary part, right? Like, we're all supportive of it. If you're not, don't watch. Most of his audience didn't care about that either. It's the fact that he said he was Korean. And then he also said his pronouns were Korean. And that's where the caca hit the fan and flew everywhere. After undergoing my transition surgery, I now identify as non-binary. Good for you. I fully identify as Korean after undergoing my final transitional surgery. Hold on, it gets better. It feels so good to finally come out as a Korean non-binary person after being trapped in the wrong body and wrong culture my whole life. I cannot wait to share the new me with the world next week. My Korean name is Park Jimin. I think it's actually pronounced Pak in Korea, but I might sound stupid saying that, so I'm just going to say Park. Koreans, let me know. But this is also Jimin's actual name. Do you see what's going on here? Core/Ian. Oh, that's a new neo pronoun, never heard of it. Now, to anyone who isn't aware of the slashes in the community, it basically is telling you your pronouns. So mine's he, him, also she, her, they, I really don't care now. While pronouns usually correlate with someone's gender expression, it's not required, but most of us go by the 3, he, she, and they, and the other counterparts of it. However, recently there have been more neopronouns, so new pronouns, that don't go by those binaries. I've seen zer, z, just ones that are actually gender neutral and don't even think about the binary. It makes someone feel comfortable, and it's not hard to respect someone's pronouns. It's just a word. And if you're someone who says, I don't like using pronouns, you literally just said one. I is one. I'm not gonna get into the big debate, but if someone's like, you can't identify as they, I'm just gonna say a few sentences really quick for you. Where's your friend going tonight? Oh, they're going to the club. How's your friend? They're good. Korean could be a neopronoun because it's sort of like anything goes. I think there's an unspoken rule that you shouldn't touch a nationality and ethnicity. I wouldn't say American can be a pronoun because why would you? But if we allow any word, that can even go for like bad words, slurs even. So I don't think anything goes is a good argument when it comes to choosing your pronoun. Hold on, before I keep going, I wanna make sure this foundation is blended because last time y'all clocked me, and rightfully so. I don't know how I missed it in the first video, I was just very blind.
I was blind.
I was so blind.
But it gets worse. They go on. I'm officially Core/Ian. Hashtag Korean boy, spelled Korean wrong. This is what started it. This is my new official flag for being a non-binary person who identifies as Korean. Thank you for the overwhelming support. It's been very hard for me to come out as they/them/Core/Ian. I'm not Korean, I don't know the history of the flag, but I have heard it is offensive to retouch the flag, but I've also seen that there is actually gay pride flags in Korea, so tell me if this is offensive. I'm not sure. They said this is the official pride flag, so I'm just going to assume it is. However, we should keep in mind the Korean flag does have meaning behind it in terms of the colors and the shapes and the symbols. And it received over 20,000 retweets because a lot of people had stuff to say about it, rightfully so. My homeland, Core/Ia. I don't think the country can have pronouns, Oli. But you do you. After this, they made tweets and videos saying, so sad to see homophobic, non-binary phobic comments and ones that are transracially phobic. Now, what is transracial? Basically, it's saying that you can change your race. Race is the physical features that someone's given. The skin color is how we look on the outside for the most part, because some people can be 50-50 and lean one way. And people have argued race is a social construct because it's a human-invented classification system. That's not the point of this video, but I do want to differentiate race versus ethnicity versus nationality. So my race is Asian, my ethnicity is Chinese, and my nationality is American. If I lived in China my whole life, my nationality would be Chinese. And as for Korean, it's both a nationality and an ethnicity. So what is that? There's thousands of ethnicities. They're defined by cultures, traditions, language. It's very complex. That's why there's so many of them out there, even within a country. And nationality is their citizenship. So I don't know Oli London's citizenship. I don't know if he's lived in Korea for a while, but from origin, they were British and they were this before surgery. To be a Korean citizen, you have to either be born by Korean citizens, be Korean, which just means be born by Korean parents, or you have to apply in Korea after living for 5 years and showing proficiency in the language. Maybe Oli London did pass. I'm not going to debate his nationality, although I will say, I don't think his proficiency is all that good because I've seen some TikToks.
안녕하세요. 어서오세요. 여보세요. 안녕하십니까.
And sometimes they're a little questionable. You thought I was done with their tweets? No. My flag. Hashtag non-binary Korean. I am Korean whether people accept it or not. This is how I identify. This is what makes me happy. This is who I am. It's in my DNA. I'm not sure about his ancestry.com or his gene pool, but I certainly know that white colonizers in there a little bit. My neo-pronouns, Core/Ian plus J/Min. At this point, I can't tell if they're being a troll for attention or they actually feel that way, because they've made videos saying like, you're being rude, this is my identity, I'm really not appreciating the homophobic comments. But at the same time, how can you take that seriously? At the beach with Bae J/Min, Oli's soul. So we talked about the surgeries, right? What is that surgery that helped him transition? Well, turns out they decided to change their eye shape to make it naturally, trigger warning, because it's more Asian apparently. Now, we've had this debate about whether or not this is offensive or not, and people have constantly said it is to Asians when you're doing it in a manner that is towards us. I honestly don't care if models want to do it because it does lift the eye, but at the same time I'm like, this is bad for your eyes because wrinkles, so maybe we shouldn't promote it in general because let's not stretch our face. But feeling like you need to change your race is the biggest problem here. And the Core/Ian pronouns. I don't want to hear anyone try to defend them by saying you're so rude, because by doing the Core/Ian, right, by doing J/Min, you start to change the non-binary definition and how the world sees them. They're not taken seriously yet in the world. People will debate pronouns and die on that hill about saying you can't use they because it's plural. Even though if you take French, you know that vous, which is they, can also mean you, plural and singular, because it's a formal way of saying it. So stop it. It's literally in other languages. I don't want to say it's dangerous. It's not like the biggest thing in the world that's endangering the non-binary community. But if someone sees Oli London and they already don't take it seriously, the non-binary community, it's not going to help in any way. It's almost going to be like, look at that. Like, if you can be Core/Ian, why can't I be an attack helicopter? Or I might as well put any pronoun in my bio, and then it reduces all the meaning of it that it has to other people. Remember when Instagram initially put out their pronoun things in the bio? Do you remember how other people were making fun of it? And they're like, haha, I can do this now and do anything and put like cactus and plant in there. Oli London's pronouns, the ones that aren't they and them, let those people justify themselves. And it wouldn't be such a problem if it was just a random person that no one knew about. It's because they're an influencer. They've been in the Daily Mail UK. They've been in tons of news articles. Paper Magazine, Insider. Even Ben Shapiro has retweeted and said, trans Koreans are Koreans. The bigotry during Pride Month of all times is a disturbing reminder of what trans Koreans face. I'm not gonna talk about Ben Shapiro. If you don't know who he is, Google. What Ben Shapiro meant by trans Koreans are Koreans is if you can change your gender as a transgender, then you can also change your race, because he has a very unpopular opinion on transgenders. People like Oli London get attention, they get views, mainly bad, but either way, they get attention, and it can influence no matter what. But somehow Oli London works because it proves his point. So let's get into this. Can you change your race? Well, some people have done it. Rachel Dolezal is one of the most popular people who is white but identifies as black and has done surgeries and changed their hair. You know, I'm not gonna tell you if she actually looks that way because it's not for me to say, but from what I've heard, most people don't like it because why are you trying to change your race? And Oli London does not resemble a Korean person, even an Asian person, in my opinion. We'll talk about the physical appearance later, but from what we've seen, it's mainly white people who think they have the right to change their race. They think they're entitled to it. Why? Don't ask me. They have the privilege to want to change their race and adopt the cultures and the physical appearance without having to deal with discrimination, racism from the world and throughout history. They don't have to deal with that because they can just change back to white if they want to. But if I did that, I don't think I'd be on here anymore. And maybe you don't want me to bring up the race argument. Then let's talk about the sexualization part. What makes you so attracted to another culture that you want to leave your own? Maybe because you didn't have one to begin with, Ollie. But it's the fetishization part. You know when people say, oh, I want to live in Japan because I just want to look at anime. Oh, ooh, kawaii. Like, no Japanese person's gonna look at you and be like, yeah, come here. You think you can survive in Asia? You can have my parents. I will watch through a TV screen and eat popcorn, because it'll be a show. You think that all of Japan is what your anime world is gonna bring? You think you're just gonna see Mikasas and Erins and your favorite My Hero Academia characters and every Japan's person gonna talk like that? Do you realize that when they're voice acting, they're doing like the most because it's an animation? You normally have to overact in voice acting in order to portray an emotion because you don't see a human face. You think people in Teen Titans Go talk like that normally? At least I hope not. And maybe on TikTok, you think like, oh, these TikTok actors, they look so cringy and why do they talk and move like this? That is normal in animation. You just don't think it's wrong because you're accustomed to that because it's a cartoon. And I think I can speak for the majority of minorities when we say we are tired of foreigners fetishizing our culture and sexualizing our bodies just from what they see in popular media. Like, sorry dude, but not every Korean person looks like a K-pop star. By that logic, every person in America should look like Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande, but they don't. And it's especially with Asians because we have naturally younger faces, not childlike. Stop it. That's just weird. Don't do that.
I'm telling you right now, if you don't understand that, I'm telling you as a human being, it is weird and you look weird.
Fortunately, we don't age like a crepe. We stay plump like a peach for a while. But because people have an attraction to that, they see how cute we can be and how docile and like they think we're naturally higher pitched and are always like calm and soft spoken. What Oli London is doing for their love of Jimin is exactly what K-pop fans don't like. Because you are not a fan of K-pop or an admirer of it when you go to lengths outside of listening to their music and supporting them. That is a fan. A stan is similar, except you just do it a little bit more passionately. Maybe you'll debate about people and say, oh, why don't you like this person instead of this person? Which is also very toxic, stop it. But anyone who crosses the border of stalking, following them in person, doxing, wanting to look exactly like them even though they're literally not the same ethnicity, that's just being weird and creepy also. Do you realize that your celebrity crush isn't going to appreciate that? Do you honestly think they're going to like it that you're stalking them? Get that out of your head, they're not marrying you. But for Oli, it wasn't that they wanted to marry Jimin because they already have. They married a cardboard cutout of them in Vegas, I think. They want to be him. They want all the features of him. Simply because K-pop became very popular and has also been sexualized and fetishized by other audiences. And if you can't handle that fact, then let's take a look at their recent tweets just to further show my point that I don't think Oli takes this seriously. Do you think I'm Korean? At Elon Musk. I've never met anyone in my life that's more pure Korean than me. Keep note of what's capitalized. Maybe he's born with it. Maybe he's core/Ian. I was born to be Korean. I am Jimin. I am Korean. Asian check, which like... I love being plastic, so much fun. Jimin, when you finally get to love somebody, guess what? It's gonna be me. I'm editing right now. I did not even notice this, but are they like doing witchcraft? What is this? During today's full moon, I asked you to make me 100% Korean and 100% like Jimin. I can't! Look at this. Thank you for blessing me with my Korean DNA. Oh, they also said stop Asian hate. How nice. I would totally love to be Japanese for a day, working out to get my Korean body. They don't really care about Koreans or Asians. They just want to adopt the popular parts of our culture in order to have fun, get views. Now let's get to the surgery part. So we're gonna go to his YouTube. Oh, I searched Jimin instead of Oli. My bad.
Hey guys, I just want to take this chance to, come out today.
Oh, you came out. You came out all right.
I've just had a facelift, a brow lift, a temple lift, an eye surgery, a canthoplasty, and my teeth done as well.
And your teeth. I'm not gonna say you can't feel the way you feel. You know, if you want to get plastic surgery to feel more confident, that's all you. I don't care. But at this point, everyone thinks they want to transition to be transgender or non-binary transgender.
Pronouns are they, them, Korean, Jimin.
There it is.
And I do look Korean now. I do feel...
No, you don't. And I'm gonna tell you why. Most Asian people have a naturally, let's just say cat eye, that goes either straight out, but most of the time, down. Take a long, hard look at my eye. Do you see how it's not doing this? Do you see how the majority of Koreans don't have that? And if we're gonna talk about Jimin here, do you see how Jimin's eyes, they don't slant, but they don't point up. And also in Asian beauty, it is more popular to do not a downward facing, but less angular in America when you do the wing that's like that. It's less exaggerated and more of an enhancing your own feature. So we typically just shadow a little bit farther out, and even then we'll shade it downwards. Some people on TikTok have called it puppy liner, and they're like, look at this new thing I invented that no one else has ever done. No, it's been done for years. And that surgery just counteracts that. It almost gives the stereotypical impression, or you're just doing the natural insult to Asians now. As for their lips, does Oli think Jimin has like Kim Kardashian lips or something? Because I don't think, to me, Jimin has natural lips. Like they don't look, So I don't know why you think your lips have to be the size of a memory foam pillow, but it's okay to have a little bit thinner lips. It's not really in style to have the biggest lips in Korea, hence the Korean lip. It's more of a understated look. And going back to the eyes, you still have a double eyelid. And Asians do have double eyelids, but even then, our eye shape is an almond. And our face structure is a little bit flat. When I do this, you don't see this pointy nose and defined nose bridge and sunken eyes. It's kind of like a pancake. That's why it's so easy to put on makeup sometimes. If they honestly think they look more Korean and they feel happy, good for you. But as an Asian person, you look like a white person who just got an eye lift and filler.
I don't identify as British, so...
Oh, they don't identify as British. I'm sorry. But you were born in London, right? So you have a London nationality, and you were born by 2 white parents, I'm assuming. So where's the Korean in there? I will go as far to say that if you are a white person and you were born in China from day 1, and you were born by white parents, or maybe you got adopted, but you learned the language, the culture, and you treat it just as any other Chinese person. Maybe you speak Chinese better than my parents too. I would go as far to say you're Chinese, but as for your race, you're white still. I don't think you can even adopt a culture unless you have lived it. It's not taking certain parts that you like and picking and choosing the parts that are popular or marketable. You have to understand all of it. I don't even know all of Chinese culture because I haven't lived in China my whole life, but I still know a good amount of Chinese culture, and I don't treat it as like an accessory, like an expensive purse.
I identify as Korean, that's just my culture, that's my home country.
Did you say your home country? You were not born there.
And I also identify as Jimin, that's my Korean name.
You identify as Jimin, that's your Korean name. Show me the certificate. If you honestly changed your legal name to Jimin in Korea, good for you. I want to clarify this misconception. You don't have to transition to be non-binary, you can just be non-binary. Non-binary is just saying you don't feel like you lean completely on one side or the other of male and female. And non-binary people don't have to look like some Steven Universe fusion. They can still appear as your traditional male and female people, but they just go by non-binary. Most of the time, you wouldn't even know they're non-binary because it's not that big of a deal. It's their expression, not yours. And while non-binary trans people exist, and sometimes they do transition part of their features to be a little bit more androgynous, it's not a requirement. You don't have to transition to be non-binary.
You know, I get so many cool comments online. I just want people to be able to respect my decision.
I would respect your decision, Ollie, if you didn't do all that stuff towards other Koreans. It's not just Koreans you offended, it's non-binary people you offended. Because now you are one of the most popular non-binaries out there, and people are going to go to you in terms of what is non-binary. And also by changing your pronouns to the Korean Jimin, people are going to not take you seriously because they're gonna say, well, if they can identify as Korean, then why can't I identify as an animal now? And we're not gonna go down that line. It takes away the meaning of non-binary and what those people want to be known for, which is just not confined to male and female. And maybe this is a bigger topic in terms of the queer community, where sometimes because we have been pushing for our rights and we're, let's just say, more politically liberal now than before, at least compared to like during Stonewall riots, maybe Gen Z and the younger people have gotten too comfortable with expressing themselves. And this isn't me saying like, oh, you're being too gay, let's get rid of that. It's almost saying like you can get away with anything now. And if you say otherwise, then you're being homophobic and transphobic, I hate you. Where any argument against another person who is part of the queer community, you can get attacked for discriminating just because you don't agree with 100% of what they do. I've literally seen within my own Discord server, hey, we should hang out, and they are a trans person. And then another person said, no, I don't want to hang out with you. Well, you're being transphobic. No, they just don't like you as a person, not because of the transgender part. There's beginning to be more of a trend of people using their sexuality as a shield and saying, you can't do this because I'm gay. Suddenly, a lot of stuff starts to become transphobic when it's not necessarily transphobic. It has nothing to do with their gender expression or their surgeries or however they want to identify. It just comes down to they can use it as an argument now, which if you overuse something, it kind of loses meaning. So suddenly, if everything becomes transphobic, you don't know what transphobic actually is now. And when I say you, I don't mean you necessarily, but impressionable people who don't necessarily know the full definitions. Just like gaslighting and gatekeeping. What the hell are y'all doing on TikTok? Can we stop? I get it's a joke, like the girl boss, whatever, but besides that, not everything is gaslighting. Not everything is gatekeeping. Gabby Hanna. Similarly, the trend of overusing those terms has happened within the queer community with homophobic and transphobic as like the main argument. Oh, you're making a video on Oli London, you're being homophobic. You're going to make a video about Trisha Paytas, you're being sexist. Is that all you got? Like, honestly, you can't do better? You know, how dare you, Frederic, as a gay person, attack another person within your community? I only care about the Korean part and the Jimin part. That's offending the actual community. As for Ollie's feelings about being trapped in their body, I'm not here to dictate that. But also, why do you feel the need to change your race? Trans people can feel trapped in their own body, which is what Ollie's saying to be part of the transracial argument. They can feel trapped in their body from the ages of 5 or just being conscious because you're aware as a kid about your own body and who you like. You don't know sexualities at all, but you also have a sense of your own self already. Like, even I was a kid, I already knew I liked boys because it's just a feeling. It develops. But I don't think there is one single person out there who can say, as a child, I felt trapped in my own race. That doesn't come from your own mind. You have no conception of races until you learn about them in history. There is an argument though, where maybe you are a dark-skinned person who is in a whitewashed school. You would probably feel trapped as well. I certainly felt that way about my own skin color because I was bullied for it. But Ollie, you did not live in Korea as a kid. You didn't grow up next to all Koreans to feel trapped as a white person.
If you didn't know who I was, you would just think I was a Korean person.
Okay.
I haven't been trapped in this body my whole life, but it's been the last 8 years.
Wait, you literally said you were trapped in your body your whole life.
If you're trapped in the wrong body your whole life, like you don't understand.
And then you just now say you haven't felt trapped your whole life? Which one is it? And then you go on to say, for the past 8 years. It's 2021. What was 8 years ago? 2013. When did BTS form? 2013. We know what you're doing. you knew they were becoming popular and talked about. So by adopting this personality of, I want to be Jimin, I want to marry Jimin, you're gonna get fans because anything with Jimin's name will get views, just like anything with Gabby Hanna's name has been getting views. I'm sorry, I've used her name twice in this video. I will stop. Don't make a video about me, Gabby. My point is though, you know how to market yourself to be popular, even if it's for the wrong reasons. And I think I can speak for a lot of K-pop people who say they're fans. They don't like Oli London because those people, the stans, the extreme people who go on to stalk, are the ones who get published in news articles. And then culture will say like, oh, I hate K-pop groups, they're so toxic, they're so like weird, they always stalk people. That's all that's published in news articles. That's all that anyone will talk about because it gets views. No one's gonna talk about the K-pop person who enjoys it and doesn't dehumanize them and respects them as a person because they're beautiful and doesn't want to adopt their culture. That's boring. We want the person who wants to become Korean. So not only is Oli London putting a bad image on the K-pop fandom, but it's also putting a bad image on the non-binary community and the trans community. I'm not even gonna talk about the transracial community because I don't want to see that become one, because there's a difference. They should not be intertwined together.
No one's done this before.
Someone's done it before. Rachel Dolezal. Why are you acting brand new?
I'm sure there's many other young people out there that do identify as Korean or maybe as Japanese, and they don't have the strength or courage, or they don't know the words how to express this, and it's a very, very tough thing. And
I want to bring that up again. Younger people, their fans, are gonna think it's okay if they still support them after this. They don't know any better because they're learning from someone who they look up to. And we all know, like when you're younger and you are exposed to a culture that you've never seen, sometimes you'll fetishize, but most of the time you'll just be attracted to it because it's popular, you've never witnessed it before, and K-pop itself has a big fan base that is younger people. And sometimes those younger people will go out of their way to act Korean, talk Korean, and by talk I mean they learn 5 words and then always tweet out like, I want to go to Korea, like I want to meet all of them. It's fine to do that while you're young. You don't know any better. We've all said stupid stuff as a kid. But seeing Oli London transition to be Korean, that will make some people think it's okay then, and they'll continue to say that stuff. And then maybe 10 years later we'll see more Korean surgeries. And as for surgery, they didn't even go to Korea for it. They went to Turkey of all places. And I looked at the Instagram where they got the procedure done. There's another video about their surgery. I'm not watching it again. I've already done it once and I don't want to suffer anymore. But in the video, they said these people do the best eye surgeries. They do the best things to make you look Korean. They do teeth, boobs, and noses. I don't see anyone trying to be Korean on the Instagram page. If you want to be Korean, theoretically, and you want to achieve the Asian look, why would you go to Turkey? Why not go to a Korean person?
nobody would do this for attention. Nobody.
They have done it for attention. There's literally Ken the plastic surgery doll, the dude who wanted to look like Kim Kardashian, Rachel Dolezal. They all get published and they all get news articles and become rich. In the video of the surgery, they literally say, oh, look at me, we're in Turkey and it's so pretty and I'm sipping this like champagne. Look at my view. And most of the time the surgeries sponsor them. Like they get the surgeries for free.
I want to say I hope this video might encourage other young people that have been really struggling with who they are.
No, don't encourage it. My teacher brought this up in high school. What happens if transracial surgeries become normalized and anyone can be any race? If you can change your race, well, why not change your species? That would love to be a plan. While the queer community is all about acceptance of non-heteronormative society, sometimes you have to put boundaries because certain groups want to be part of the community and they don't deserve to be, because if they do, suddenly anything can be normalized. Not every boundary can be broken down, especially the one about changing your race.
Always do what makes you happy in life. This is my message.
Always do what makes you happy in life. Don't say that to a serial killer. Love who you want to love. Don't say that to the person who likes children.
I support all the LGBTQI plus question mark.
Question mark. When did punctuation become part of the alphabet? I didn't know that.
Some of my fans are in countries where it's not possible to come out as non-binary.
Oh my god, you're right. Yeah, it's like in Asia, in Asian countries, it is harder to be queer. I've heard countless stories of gay men in China who marry women and they already know that the person is gay. It's just a beard for life. The beard can be a lesbian too. Well, why not just leave China? Well, not everyone can just do that. willy-nilly. It's only in the most urban parts of China. Other areas such as Taiwan or Hong Kong, where it's more democratic there and more people are accepting. But as for mainland China and the majority of it, I think homosexuality was considered a disease until 2001. And I don't know Korean culture, but I can assume probably in Seoul, it's more okay to be queer, but in general, it's not as accepting as the United States. Don't quote me on that. If you're Korean, please tell me, because I would like to know more about the queer community in Korea, actually. Because I've looked at pride parades there. I know they exist because I've seen the gay pride flag, but I am almost certain that Korea is not as accepting as here. So for you, Oli, to be able to identify as non-binary and also change your race, that is proof that you can use your privilege to your advantage in this case and not have to deal with the repercussions of coming out in Korea. Because one, I don't even think Koreans know or think about you in Korea. They probably just assume white foreigner or tourist. Your biggest fan base isn't in Korea, it's here. But if you live in Korea, you gotta get away with that. You don't have to deal with the negative attributes that Korean culture can put on homosexual people. I don't know the attributes, but to compare, as a kid, I knew that being gay in China was considered a disease and that I was sick or would bring sickness to my family. Oli doesn't have to deal with that because they're not part of Korean culture and they're not Korean. And if you truly think Oli's not doing this for attention, just look at this video, Message for Dr. Phil. You're putting some person's famous name in there because you probably want Dr. Phil to talk about you again. $20 million Beverly Hills mansion tour. Do I need to say more? Actually, I do, because I forgot to mention the biggest part, which is typically in cultural appropriation arguments, you hear that people who do that get to profit off of the original culture they appropriated from, whereas the person whose culture is being taken from doesn't get the privilege of being able to profit off of it. If anything, they're shunned upon it. So, for example, it's not trendy for us to have Asian eyes, but suddenly for white people, when they do this, it's considered fashionable and cool. It's considered unprofessional for black people to have their natural hair, but God forbid someone like Nikita Dragun wear dreads, suddenly that's trendy and cool. Same thing with Kylie Jenner. And in this case, Oli London gets to use his race, which is Korean, to profit and make millions. Is that me being envious of their money? No. Yes. Let's look at the first video though. I'm non-binary Korean.
It shouldn't be normal, but unfortunately I'm so used to, having hate.
I wonder why.
It doesn't matter if you identify as whatever. You identify as a potato, you identify as a Smurf, you identify as a Disney prince or a Disney prince, doesn't matter.
Okay, but it does. When you say it doesn't matter if you identify as a potato, it kind of just takes away the meaning of being transgender and non-binary. And maybe also just being a human being. You're just denying the struggles that the community has to face and putting it off as like this, like, you don't have to care, just do whatever you want. Not all of them have the privilege to be able to identify as a potato and get away with it. And also society just does not work for potatoes to be the main species.
We are all entitled to identify in different ways.
You're literally saying, I can identify as a serial killer and people shouldn't tell me otherwise because that's just being serial killer phobic now. Like what do you say to this?
Whether you identify as a rabbit, whether you identify as a cat,
Stop. Nope.
I really believe in freedom of speech and we are all individually allowed to express us.
I do believe in freedom of speech too. It is a right, but sometimes I feel like it can be taken away for other people. It's my freedom of speech. Like, I'm allowed to be aggressively homophobic in the world and people shouldn't tell me I'm being wrong because it's my freedom of speech. I have the right to say all this stuff because it's my freedom of speech. Yeah, well, if it comes at the expense of another community and degrading them, diminishing their experiences, then no.
It's very hard for them to be open in Korea.
It is very hard to live there, so you know what they have to face, but you don't have to deal with that. Also, you're probably confused on why I'm doing a Korean flag makeup look while also wearing a Japanese painting. I feel like Oli London would appreciate this because they tend to change their race all this time. And apparently they know Japanese, Korean, and Filipino on TikTok. They just love to mix and match this stuff.
These are the same people that if you accidentally say the wrong thing or do anything, they will destroy someone's career. They've done this with so many people like J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author, so many other incredible people that have given so much happiness to millions of people.
I give so much happiness to y'all, like, why are you mad at me? It's just one little mistake. J.K. Rowling did nothing wrong, like they've done so much stuff it outweighs the one bad thing they did. No, even if someone has done a lot of good stuff for their community or just in general. One silly mistake, which this isn't silly, should be held accountable for, especially if it has weight. Like if I killed someone, could I just say, oh, but I've done so much for y'all on YouTube. Like this is just one little thing I did.
People that need to be cancelled is the woke people because they are so...
Ollie brings up like woke people all the time and they're referencing Twitter, I'm assuming. How is it woke for a Korean person to tell you to stop offending their country? Or a non-binary person to tell you to stop offending their community? I agree, like woke can be taken to another extent, especially online and Twitter. But in this case, it's not woke people. It's just people who want you to stop doing things that offend other people. Not just little things, like extreme things that offend an entire nationality and an entire group within the queer community.
Whatever's in your heart, that's the truth.
I don't think that should be promoted. That can become dangerous if you just allow someone to do whatever they want and what's in their heart.
People trying to cancel me are not even Korean.
Yes, they are. No, they are. Literally, majority of them are. Korean people actually like me. In the comments, you will see like, no, they don't. We live in Korea. We don't think about you. They don't think about you. Whenever there's like a tourist or like a foreigner and they think they're getting all this attention, they don't think about them. They don't bat an eye because we got better shit to do. You are just a white tourist or a foreigner living there. I finished my makeup, so in conclusion, Olay Lotion is on some stuff and I want that too. I applaud them for the confidence to do all of this stuff and get away with it. I'm concerned about why so many big news articles are promoting this and interviewing them, and I would like people to stop condoning their behavior, but not send straight out hate and death threats because that's sloppy. Hold people accountable for when they do things that are like that. Don't change your race. If you're insecure about your race, find other people who look like you, who talk about your culture, and learn to love it, because I have self-hated before. I think for every minority we all have, unless you somehow grow up where it doesn't have to be an issue. Good for you, I'm glad you never experienced it. But we've all had that feeling of, sometimes I wish I was white, or I wish I wasn't Asian. Those feelings fade when you actively look for people who look like you, speak your language, find your group. Either it's online, maybe in school, you just have to find that one other person. Wait until college, you will find your people and you will find your own culture. But don't just ditch it and adopt another one, because that's not right. Don't fetishize people, don't sexualize other races, that's weird. Don't stalk people, that's kind of illegal. And from now on, my pronouns are chai/knees. Okay, that's it. If you enjoyed, give this video a like, leave a comment down below on what you want me to talk about next, and as always, subscribe. I post videos every week, typically on Saturdays. And if I don't, turn on my post notifications so you don't miss a video. Social medias are right here. Go follow my Twitch, we've been streaming more often. And as always, I love you all, and everything is less than 3. Also, fun fact, Joey just got accepted at a job, so let me just go to the kitchen, cook him a meal, start my housewife journey.